open or not because it's fucking 90 degrees in
I know
Seattle right
Washington's
now.
having some weird weather right now.
But there's like a family party happening like two houses over or something, and there's literally some kids that are trying out for a metal band singing how metal they can, the ABCs. It's like A B C R R R R R R. Like, oh my god! All right, the window's got to be closed. There's no way that that is gonna work.
That's
Oh
that's
man.
that's
I mean, it's
awesome.
hilarious. I mean, kids are being kids. It's not like I'm gonna complain about it or something, but it's
Guys, we don't know any songs. What do we play?
The
Alphabet.
ABCs.
Nothing's more metal than the alphabet, bro.
the Omega Bet. That is what we're singing.
Okay. And I'll put this in here too. Why not? Boom. And no, the logo's not done yet. So apparently, some terrible things happened. So
Oh no. Sorry that your sister's going through such
yeah.
terrible times.
Was it finger guns? Did finger guns start messaging her and she's just like, I can't deal with this?
Because I
think
have
so.
time. I have time to do things like that.
Hey, it is no longer tax season. You are a free man.
It's true, but I also have chillins. Chitlins? Oh, children. That's what they're called.
We got a Yeetus Maximus. Hello from the Bald and Bearded Club. You know, I've ever since like we started like talking about bald and bearded, I have noticed like a lot more people in the nerd community are bald and bearded.
It's definitely like a men of a certain age kind of a
Yeah.
Well,
club.
I think there's this. Because we all grew up, right, with being bald being like basically a joke, right? And it was like, oh, toupees are like a punchline.
I don't know
Yes.
because like growing up, I had Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that's not a joke.
Right, but like certain people can get away with it, and like there's certain people that like make it work. But for the most part, like bald is this thing that you dread. Like you start noticing how it's a punchline in so many
Oh yeah,
things.
yeah.
And
I was cursed because I made fun of my brother because his hair was thinning when he was 16, and my hair was full.
Yeah.
And then I'm bald, and he's still at the same stage he was when he was 16.
Off to the races.
so I just try to be very like pro and supportive, just because. I mean, I don't want to go so far and be like, man, think about us white guys so oppressed because we get made fun of for being bald, right? But it's a thing. Like there are very like you don't what bald superheroes is usually people that they just don't want to show their hair, right? And
I'm straight hooked up in society, but these
Yeah.
genes a little weak.
so, well, and it happens like most guys. So I'm just very pro, like support support our bros. Bros in general don't get a lot of emotional support from other guys. That's just not something we're usually that good at. So I'm like,
I just try not to be toxic about it,
yeah.
one way or the other. Like I'm not like bald is the only beautiful or anything, but I'm also like, you have very nice hair, sir.
I love complimenting guys' beards. Just walking like, dude, your beard is fantastic. I love it.
It's really
So
full, lush.
When I was in band in junior high school, our band teacher had a poster up above his office door that said, it was like God only made I was like, no, so it was, God only made so many perfect heads in the world, and then the rest he covered with hair.
Nice. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh, good
Good
times.
job.
Good times.
Good job, Teach.
Good job, Teach. All right, I think we're ready. We got the postings out. We got B to the Ryan hanging out with us, and I'm sure other people will join.
All right, great.
I gave us a little background this time. We have stars behind us. Isn't that?
Oh, neat. Really? I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh, okay. I gave us a background, so it's not just like our faces.
I'm. We were just talking about how beautiful we all are.
I mean, fair. I mean, like it's like the majority of the space is the face, but then there's like stars in the background because Star Wars. What
That
shirt are
makes
you
sense.
wearing? Sam.
Mine?
Ooh.
Yeah, what's Sam's shirt?
My shirt says "Bad Motivator" and it's got an R5D6 on it.
Okay. I just picked this one up at Old Navy today. I like it.
Oh, that's an awesome shirt. Old Navy
Yeah.
actually is where the shirt I wore last week. My tie interceptors. It was awesome. Like that was an Old Navy find. Like they have really great IP shirts. When
Well, we
they have
got
really
a-
great IP shirts.
We got a Grogu one too, and he's like just sitting there like this. So,
I love that
then,
Strikes
like-
Midnight is like just discovered Grogu.
I mean, like she's always loved him, and it's like she just found him. It's just we just started finally like watching it again, and
Okay.
she's like, I forgot how lovable this character is, and she just loves him so much. When we first watched it, like we got like one of those Grogu stuffed animals basically with the hard head. So it's like not really a stuffed animal, it's a stuffed animal with a hard head. And I think we
Nice.
got it like before the show even came out, and back then it was like $10. And like now that doll already is like $100 or something like that. It's insane. So
Gotcha.
I'm happy. I just came in here and I see how it is. Sam is a big poo. All right, let's get the show on the road. I'm gonna hit the buttons and we're gonna get going. And I'm gonna see if I can not mess up this intro.
I think
I
you have
believe in you.
a media bar off to the side
What?
in the Twitch chat.
Oh, that's because I gotta hit the button for the sound bar. Then I'll delete it when
Okay.
it goes. Oh, I gotta hit the live button. I almost messed it up.
All right.
But as soon as
long
I hit
make it
this
go
button,
away.
yeah, I'll make it go away and then make your face bigger. All right, hitting the buttons.
Does it have to be my face?
It makes all of our faces bigger.
Okay.
Big faces. Pew 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 pew. Yeah.
Bigger targets, easier to hit.
Welcome, my young apprentice. Stretch out with your feelings. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
So like my
Close the
ADHD is
blast
kicking
doors.
in. my ADHD is kicking in, and like every time I hear the pew 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 pew, I'm like in my head, I'm like, yeah,
Shooting at you, brother.
oh man. Welcome to the Rogue Agents. Wow, wrong show. Welcome to Rogue Supporter Star Wars Shatterpoint podcast. We are your hosts, Dizzard, Omnis, and Finger Guns. Our goal as a cast is to give you that support you need for your gaming needs, whether that be tactics, supplies, hobby ideas, or just friendly banter. We are in your corner of the cantina. If you enjoy what you are listening to, be sure to leave a review and let us know how we are doing as well. Come hop in our Discord. The virtual hops, don't please like hop on your computer, that'd be terrible. There you can show off your hobby, talk rules
Do
and
what you
tactics, and anything Star Wars Shatterpoint related. The link will be in the description. Now let's open those blast doors and get on with the show. I almost did it. pretty
Close the
good.
blast doors. Close
the
the blast
Blasted up
doors.
like 1 second into it. You were just like,
I
I've
just let
got
it go
this.
at that point.
I'm gonna
I
get
let
it
it
right.
I let it go at that point, you know? It's just like, what's the point? All right, so let's go ahead and open up with Rogue's Cantina. What are you playing, painting, drinking, whatever it may be? Let's start with Omnis. What you got going on?
Well, I picked up some new. I got an Eclipsosaurus Celestial IPA
Ooh,
from
fun.
Ninkasi, which I had not had before. So this is a first time for our second episode. But man, I am so ready for this stuff to hit. I got like my announcement from DGI of like the stuff is shipping and like the actual release date is the second, and so like that was like hit me with more hype. I know like DGI is not sponsoring us or anything, but I'm picking up some stuff from Mox, and then I also, because I wanted like an extra core set for more terrain and to potentially have models in case, you know, Steph wants to paint something. Yeah, so I just picked up some stuff from DGI, and so that was
Good,
just
man.
like give me hype. I've been looking at some of the models, trying to figure out like how am I gonna paint some of these Mandalorians, right? Like, am I gonna go with the exact scheme, or am I gonna try to like bring all my Mandalorians together in kind of a similar scheme? That's something have you guys thought about that at all? Like, are you?
I think you
gonna
should do them
bring
like the
Mando-
coven, like Din's coven of Mandalorians.
Random
So
Mandalorian
just
colors.
like random parts and random colors.
This one's a blue brown color, and this one.
I might do that.
That's not a
Bring
bad
them
idea.
together, though. Yeah,
The Mandalorians stick together.
but yeah, just
better
drinking and planning at the moment for me is what's going on.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
I wanted this for last week. It's called Star Wars. It's an Imperial Stout, but it was so good that I drank
got
it all
that
before the
reference.
last show. So it's funny when you said that you were
man.
waiting for this to hit. I thought you were talking about your fancy beer. Just waiting for this stuff to hit me.
I want to try a Star Wars now. Where do you get it?
Yeah, where do you get that?
Okay, I think this is from Fatty's Beer Works in Charleston, South Carolina. So the opposite coast of Washington.
You send me like a quick shot of the beer or something at some point. I'll see if it's something like one of my Bevmos or something can get in, because that would be hilarious.
It's a very dark, very
I bet you
oaky.
Bevmo could order it for you at like a premium $100 a can.
Is it worth $100 a can, Sam? Like what?
$100 a can might be a bit of a stretch. This isn't like Formula One stuff over here. This seems like it's just like it's a good beer. It's solid. It's strong. They make their own labels. I have this kind of like running joke with me buying beer where it's like, oh, does it make its own label? Because like it's either going to be really good or like it's going to be uncarbonated by the time you open it. But it's good. It's good beer. $100
wait
bucks a
until-
little steep.
I can't wait until Shatterpoint has an event held at a brewery, because they're catching on with
heck
Marvel
yeah.
Crisis Protocol, right? Like, that would be sweet.
I wonder if there's a brewery called Shatterpoint. If there is, we should reach out and find them and then host that tournament wherever it is in the United States.
I'm gonna Google that shit right now. Is there a Shatterpoint brewery?
Only thing that pulls up the Shatterpoint is the game.
Of course. I've been building a lot of stuff for other games, which has been fun. I haven't built an army in a long time. I'm building an army right now. I feel completely hobby stymied because of it, because it's been so much to build, and now I still have to base. And then, like, after basing, I can finally get around to painting. But I got a bunch of this army second-handed, so it's like missing heads and stuff. So I'm waiting on like eBay to provide me with the missing heads first.
Says one of headless. It's fine.
I am right now. If only they were horsemen. They're not.
They could be. You could just say they are.
I cannot find something Shatterpoint and beer related. Maybe there's a listener who wants to go on this quest for us. What's the closest to Shatterpoint that you could find a brewery name? And like, can we run an event there?
Be a
Show him this.
oh.
Baby Yoda.
I want to give you the blue cookies.
All right. So let's see. Hammered Point. I can see a Hammered Point. What about a? I can see a. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a brewery out there called Charter Point. Let's be real. People's no, toilet humor is the best humor. I can't focus.
For the listeners, Greg
Force is strong
Webster
with that
accidentally typed Shatterpoint so many times that occasionally his phone auto-corrected Shatterpoint to Shatterpoint.
I honestly don't doubt it. So
Even if
let's
he did that
see.
intentionally because it's funny, I don't care. It's amazing. God, I love Greg Webster.
I hope that's just
right.
what he called like his charts before Shatterpoint came out. Just like, oh, Shatterpoint.
I'm hitting the Charter Point.
Having another Shatterpoint tonight.
I mean, I always thought that that's just there's a point where you've eaten so much Taco Bell that you have reached the Charter Point.
I hope I never experience the Charter Point.
I may have had one right before the show.
Oh. All right, what are you playing, paint and drinking? I got a good old fashioned sour monkey because it's delicious and still
you go.
not sponsored by Victory Brewing. Maybe I'll get it with this one.
Grogu should just be on a shelf, like right behind
I don't
you.
have
like,
I don't have a shelf. I have a flag.
Just spin in the chair one time.
Hang
Make
it.
Grogu happy.
He's still in the package.
give him
You could
a
just put little
spin.
hooks in the ceiling, some fishing line, hang Grogu right behind you.
Just hang him
Not
up
like
behind.
literally hang him like with a rope, right? Just like dangle.
Might get some negative
It's got
reviews if
dark.
we did that.
Got dark. Got dark.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Painting. I haven't painted in a while and I'm slacking. But I'm excited for the core set and my Dooku box to get here because
You're like getting ready to Super Saiyan, right? So you're like,
yeah, I'm gonna like paint everything all at
Wait,
once.
are
'Cause
you
I
saying you're
have
not ordering Obi-Wan? You are
That's exactly what I'm
skipping the
saying.
Obi-Wan box.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow.
Obi
Sam,
won't.
he's skipping the Obi-Wan
I,
box.
that's
he
another
knows.
mirror I don't have to play.
All right, don't get me wrong. I'll probably buy him eventually because he's actually really, really, really good. But I think it's exactly what Sam's talking about. Is like Obi-Wan's going to be everywhere when this game first comes out, and I'm not a fan of mirrors. So there's
I mean,
listeners-
Dooku's going to be everywhere too. So
In chat, I want to know, are you skipping either Dooku or Obi? And why? Or you can say in Discord. That's fine too. I'm just really curious. Are you smarter than Dizzard? That's what I want to know.
wow. Wow. No skip, full gas. Right, Matt. Let's see. And then I also have like all my MCP crap that I need to paint because Nova is fast approaching. And I've got
Thankfully, they've delayed M'Baku until July plus so that I have time to Shatterpoint before I
Fair.
go M'Baku on everyone.
Oh, what's up, Mike? Let's see what else. Been watching Clone Wars and Mandalorian because I still have not finished season 3. I'm real behind.
oof.
Speaking of slacking,
Yeah.
but I'm rewatching Clone Wars as well. Still, I've been going through it. Like, God, that show smashes. Like,
It really does. Like, I did not appreciate it when it first came out when I was younger, and I thought it was like kind of a gimmick. But watching it now, I'm like, there's so much backstory in the show that I never really paid attention to.
the weird thing about the show is the episodes with Anakin tend to be the less interesting episodes.
Yeah.
It's like the episodes that are like just random clone shit are amazing, and just like random Kit Fisto episode, amazing, right? Like it's just
Ahsoka
everything about
even.
some random Jedi is really interesting. Like the Shock T episode where they're like dealing with the clone troopers being trained under the bounty hunters, super interesting. It's just, man, like.
Okay, so Mike says
Everything but that
Charles
like
Beard.
8-episode droid arc from
So first of
Clone Wars
all-
after season 1's pretty good.
Mike says Charles's beard is living up to the hype. Diz's beard is peach fuzz. Sorry. First of all, let me give you a little backstory because of the army, I can't grow more than 1/4 of an inch, so I had to trim it, and then I
Boring.
trimmed it too far. And because I trimmed it too far in one spot, I can't just leave that one spot trimmed too far. So I had to start over.
That's a rookie beard mistake right
It
there.
really is.
You remember the first time that you're like, I'm gonna trim my beard, and it's like 1 a.m. and you're just like, we've all made that mistake. I made it when I was like
So-
22, and I was like, never again am I trimming a beard late at night.
I'll do it with my head, and that's when I cut my head. And it's the worst part ever. Like anybody who does not shave their head, like cutting your head is probably the worst cut you could give yourself. It's always like it'll bleed for
Don't cut
hours.
your head.
I don't understand it. It'll just bleed for hours. Like, oh man, skill issue. That's why I shave your baldy head. Fair enough. The first mistake was trimming your beard. Oh, I have to. All right, let's go ahead and move on. So we got Chamber of Judgment. Ominous. What do you have for the Chamber of Judgment this week?
All right, I want to talk about basically the score tracking in Shatterpoint, and I just like how elegant the ability, like not just managing the score, but since it's a tug of war, and I love how many dials that they can tweak regarding moving the struggle versus scoring, right? So when you wound a character, right, you get to like shift the struggle towards you. I'm just really excited to see the different ways that this plays out, right? Like what happens when you have something that can move the struggle tracker like 2 or something like that. I am really excited to see all of the different ways that this plays out, the way that you keep seeing it worked into like the what are the signature abilities called on the primaries? They have a term for it,
Oh
and
my
I'm
God, what is it
forgetting
called? I had the robot pulled up. Where is it?
Yeah.
Keep
But
talking.
a lot of their signature abilities, right, like can often interact with it, right? Like where when Anakin goes after a primary, right? Like he can score, and you're moving the struggle tracker. Like, and you could like, I doubt they'll do that many things that move the struggle tracker like backwards, like have someone lose momentum. But maybe you could have it be a like a downside effect for a character, right? Like maybe maybe a character you lose a momentum but like gain a force or something. Like there's a lot of really interesting ways that you could play around with it. What are you
Identity
guys' thoughts
ability.
on identity ability? Yes, that's the one.
Identity.
Oh, Mike said it like 5 minutes ago.
Thank you, Mike. You love the beard, and you love your terminology. Appreciate you.
I honestly think like Sam said it. I think Sam said it last time, where he's like the scoring mechanic is just super cool. This game, like the tug of war. And I think you bring up a really good point with how gaining momentum just completely shifts it. Like I was playing a game. Oh, I forgot with who, but it was very much like I felt in massive control. I had all the points. I was scoring good. And then my opponent just kept getting the momentum tracker every single turn because I was so far ahead of them in scoring that they were able to get that momentum. And then they got a wound on top of the momentum. So next thing you know, they're scoring 2 momentum a turn where they're still not really banking on points, but they're able to keep me floating around that 0 mark, like that 1-0 mark. And then they're getting the momentum. And the next thing you know, they just like have one good swing turn and then they score out. And it's like, I was winning this and all of a sudden I lost it. I think momentum is almost stronger than just straight out scoring because it helps you get that clutch moment where you just close the game out.
Yeah, I'm curious if down the road there's going to be specific strategies because I've had that come up as well, where there was a game where I was behind. It was in Act 2, and so I had won the first act, and then in Act 2, they were just always ahead, just a little bit, right? It was like 3 down to 2, 3 down to 1, 2 down to 1. It was like constantly just hovering right above 0, and so my momentum kept moving, and theirs didn't because we were not getting to 0, and I just kept them from ever winning, and then all of a sudden it was just like boom, scored like 3 VPs, and like I only needed to get to 1 on my side and was basically winning. And that was the one game that I've won Act 1 and Act 2. And I'm just like, I'm really curious, especially as other characters come out, there might be some very legitimate strategies about how you are manipulating. Like, is there going to be a point where you don't want to let it move to 0? Do you want to like let your opponent like score 1 less to like keep it on their side so your momentum keeps shifting? Like I don't know, maybe like it's just a really interesting territory. What about you, Sam? What are you thinking so far?
Only way I've been able to like wrap my head around is just thinking about it in like total spaces for both players and how many spots is it? How many spots does it need to move? How many spots is it gonna move? So if it moves, like 2 or 3 for me, but it stays on their side, it's almost the same. It feels almost the same as, like scoring 1 less, because you're basically giving them some advantage. It's a beautiful system, and I have not completely grokked it yet. I'm still trying to figure this thing out, wrap my head around it.
I don't want to get too hypothetical, right? But imagine if like the Emperor or something could spend force to manipulate the struggle, like to like move the momentum one direction or the other, something like that. There's just
I'm still trying to like get people off points so I can score and win games. You're the next level, man.
I think it'd be really cool to have a momentum manipulation ability, but I feel like it would have to. I could see there being something like when your opponent gains a momentum, you also gain a momentum. Like I could see that being more fair than just spinning force for it. Because I feel like if you just spin force for it, you would just always spin force. You'd just always be like, I'm gaining a momentum for this much force.
But if it's a character, right? You only activate the Emperor maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 times at most over the course of an entire game.
I honestly, I'm kind of leaning more towards like, I feel like the most I have activated a character is probably 3 times, and that's like including shatter points.
I think I've done a 4, and that's it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, you're probably only activating a character 3 times. But I'm just saying, in an extreme situation where you're using your shatter points as well, And that's so if we're talking about a character who during their activation can move the momentum one,
Mhm.
right? Like over the course of the entire game, you maybe get 5 momentum out of them, but like fucking Anakin can just kill people and score.
Yeah,
So, is it more powerful than
again,
that? I don't know.
again, arguably, let me ask you this: do you think straight VPs or momentum is stronger?
I don't know. That's a good question, right? Like, well, I mean, obviously, well, I mean, both can just straight
Yeah,
win you a game, right? Like,
yeah,
I lost a game to Anakin where he needed 3 points to win, and I had 1 point on the double scoring objective, and he
yeah,
just was able to go up, kill the well, I think he needed four, but he was able to kill a carrot. He was able to wound a Gar Saxon, shift the momentum, and score a point, and then get the double score. And it was just like, and just finished off the game. And that's obviously stacking those effects essentially, but yeah, which is better, I think, is a situational thing. There are times where you want to move the momentum more than you want the point. Um,
Like momentum's not going anywhere. Your VPs are like they feel somewhat fungible, like just turn after turn, where you're like, all right, I'm up three. Oh nope, all right, now we're back to zero,
yeah.
right? But like the momentum stays, and so I'm almost more concerned about giving up momentum to my opponent than I am about scoring VPs or them scoring VPs
yeah.
until it's like the turn that's going into the turn where it's like you're like you need four. It's impossible for me to stop you.
So on that topic, so I hadn't really thought about this before the episode when I brought this up, but this is kind of why I just thought this would be an interesting topic. Maybe there are situations where on your turn, right, if you're going like, oh, I could score three and that would put me to one, or do I want to let it go zero and shift the momentum in? Do I like, especially if you have something really interesting to do with that character, right? Where you're like, maybe I just intentionally let it go zero and I'm setting up for something.
I think that's like one of the biggest keys to scoring in this game is how do you balance your momentum and VPs? And like I'm still wrapping my head around that, but it's like
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I think is going to really separate your top of the line players from your like next down to your
Your
next down. This,
Padawans
yeah,
from your
yeah.
masters.
But I think it's
Woo!
really
Star Wars.
I think it's really going to separate people. Because if you have somebody who can like balance out my momentum gain / my VP gain, that person is just probably going to end up crushing the person who doesn't understand that balance and is just going for VPs. Because like I talked about in my game that I was talking about earlier, it's like I felt in total control because I was just scoring VPs, and then the next thing I know, they just went out because they only needed to score 3 because their momentum was on 1.
Especially for say like an Anakin team or something,
Yeah.
where you know that you have big spike potential with an Anakin activation, right? If you want to hover things and like keep the momentum shifting, and then all of a sudden just score a bunch of points, like I don't know, could be a thing. Very very hypothetical talk here,
Yeah.
but
Mike said something in the chat that's interesting. Getting the momentum is worse than a VP, I think. You getting the VP is a -1 for your opponent, whereas momentum is only for you. But like most of the times, turn by turn, I would say you gain at least 1 momentum. So it's like shortening the track. And I guess this is where like, the pressure comes in that they're talking about. And you definitely feel the game speed up. It's insane how fast the game picks up. Like I swear, I'll have a game where like struggle 1 will be anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, and then struggle 2 and if needed 3 is like 20 minutes each. It's just over. Like it's so fast.
well, and also maybe it could be a strategy like in anti-Anakin stuff, where you're just like, I don't want to feed my primary or secondary to Anakin, so can I find rather than going for like win by one this round, get
Yeah.
myself to one. Maybe it's worth going to finding a plan that goes to zero, but like keeping my shit away from Anakin's murder.
I mean,
Something like
if
that.
you're really worried about Anakin, just send Ahsoka into him. Like he's just like, I don't care. I'll take half that damage, and then I'll take half of the next damage too. Oh, look, your Anakin is
think-
now pretty much dead.
I think positioning is still more important. I think that you want to
Yeah.
make sure that your positioning is leaving you set up for the next time that you're going to activate that person because you really don't know when that's going to happen. So they really have to be in a good position. That's the only time I think I would purposefully choose to leave score off the board in favor of gaining momentum is if I felt like I was in a much better position going forward.
I think so far there has been a few moments where I'm like, momentum. I can gain what, like 3 momentum off of this turn here by 2 momentum. You can only really gain 2 momentum. I don't know how you gain 3. But gain 3 momentum off of this. I'm gonna let my opponent like push momentum because then I'll come back the next turn and score 4, and that's a win. But it's like it definitely comes into balancing out like your momentum / VP gains and knowing when to sacrifice to gain that momentum, like you're saying.
Well, maybe so. Like say in like Act 2 or 3, right? If you've got an unactivated Anakin that's going to activate real soon on one point of the 3, right? But then the other 2, maybe it's worth going after the other 2 and being like, I'm going to go for momentum this round, avoid Anakin, head towards the other 2 spots, and try to like leave Anakin out by himself. Where he also, in that situation, you could potentially denying your opponent scoring and momentum because Anakin doesn't get to murder. I know I'm talking about Anakin a lot, but
I know, but like a real talk though. Sam said maybe, right? And I tell you what, Anakin always gets to activate at the most inopportune times for the Anakin player, and what feels like the most opportune time for the non-Anakin player. Like it's
I'm
always
so
like,
glad that it's
my
not just my
experience.
personal experience.
no, I feel it though, where
Not
it's just
for
like,
me.
whenever I'm facing Anakin, it's always been that Anakin got the time to activate right at the perfect moment, and whenever I've played Anakin, it's very much like, where is he in this deck? Like,
That's what I feel. That's my energy right there.
no,
I've had
I love
one
it.
good activation with Anakin where like it was like, wow, fantastic. I can't believe that this just happened, that he's here right now when I need him. And then he
skill issue.
he just didn't get the job done, which also
That's
happens. So
All right. Well, I think this will wrap us up for talking about VPs. Unless you guys have any other things you want to hit up on it.
No, I think that was good. I think that was
I think
good.
it was good. I'm really liking this Chamber of Judgment segment because it's one where we're going into
Hey,
like a
if you're gonna
rule.
say the name, you have to say it cool, not just like, oh, Chamber of Judgment.
You didn't say it cool.
This is the Chamber of Judgment.
All right.
Announced this segment.
Where I did, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll get better about this. I need to get better at voices. Okay. Like I've been. Yeah. Anyways, so the main topic of the week, we're gonna be getting into. I had this real punny thing, and then I kind of just like, yeah. But anyways, we're gonna be digging up some roots. Let's talk about combat trees. Ha! Ha!
I'm in.
Yeah, I reeled you back in with that one.
The root of the problem
root.
is the damage trees, or the root.
All right. Okay, so I don't know. Let's start with Sam. What do you look for in a combat tree, and why?
well,
Actually, how about this? How about this? Describe it. This is a very early episode. Game's not even out yet. Describe a combat tree.
oh geez. All right. So a combat tree is at the end of your basically compare dice results phase of combat. You're going to look at how many successes you have, and then you're going to move that many steps down your tree, and you're going to apply those effects step by step by step. So, I mean, damage is a good thing, but I think that statuses are another thing that you're going to see a lot of on combat trees and are going to be something that makes people very happy to see on their combat trees. And then shoves, there's some repositioning that happens on both sides where... So basically, your combat tree is going to tell you how the combat resolves from here. And it's going to be a combination of damage and status effects and movement on the table, either your movement or your opponent's movement.
Awesome. Okay, now if you were to have the perfect combat tree,
Whoa.
I'm really curious. No, because like I think it's actually a really good question because I'm going to ask you next on this, so be prepared. Sam, if you were to have the perfect combat tree, don't say why, just say what it was. Give me 5 blocks.
Honestly, it should just be like 2 damage and a sweet effect every single time. Like I feel like that's an amazing combat tree. It's like, oh look, 2 damage and a really
Okay,
sweet effect.
but I think it's very important. Sorry, I'm not going to go ahead. Okay, Omnis, what
order?
about you? No. You had your chance. Omnis, it's your turn.
So I mean, I think it depends on which character that we're talking about, right? But like, looking at, say, Rex's, I don't have the names on these cards, but I'm pretty sure this is Rex's. Advanced Combat Training.
Hmm.
He's got Pin on the first success,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so that's a big deal. Then he's got damage mixed in. He's got a strain or a push at third success, and then you can move into a replenish or an advance in damage. For a secondary, this tree is pretty amazing to me. And so that's kind of the thing that I thought would be really interesting to talk about here is like depending on the role of the character and how flexible those are. So say for example, on the flip side, I struggle a little with Asajj's Makashi form because it pushes her push or her activate the force ability to a fifth success, which I think is hard to get to, right? Like 3 to 4 is kind of the sweet spot, I think, for a big effect, but pushing it to a 5, I think means that you're not going to get that off as much. Where her Jarkai side is really interesting to me. It doesn't have a pin until 6 successes, but you have like a super heavy damage side that's just 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage. So if you want to put in damage, you can. And then it's got a heavy support side, right? That's got strain and a damage, disarm and a damage, expose and a damage. And then either one of those routes gives you your force push at the 4th success. That's a really, really solid tree to me. And so that was kind of what I was hoping that we would get to in this episode is like evaluating it. How do you figure out whether or not this tree is solid? And so what I think I had one.
Anakin's got a good tree.
And we can get to his trees a little later. I don't want. I was shit on Darth Maul too much the last time around.
Oof.
Well,
Darth Maul's got a killer tree. Like, look at his tree. Like, it's actually really good.
we'll get to Darth Maul.
Okay.
Disruptive tactics is. I'm trying not to just trash on Darth Maul. Like I'm trying to move on.
Okay.
I believe disruptive tactics are the super commandos, and this is a tree that I think is fine. This is where like if the other parts of a character are super great, you got 2 damage, and then you move into some of the salt. Like you can get a strain pretty early on, and you can get a jump on a 3rd success, and you've got a direction that can give you both a disarm and an expose. But overall, it's not heavy damage. It doesn't give you pin. I think like the super commandos have kind of a middle of the road tree.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna counter you here. I'm gonna counter you here though. Super commandos also get a jump option, where a lot of people don't really actually get the jump option. Where I think getting mobility off of your combat tree is incredibly strong, either control or mobility.
But they have access to a jump. Most of the trees have pushes and stuff. Like, yeah, mobility is not bad. Like, this is still a very mobile game. But I just looking at the super commandos and like that tree does not excite me.
Well, let's compare them to Clan Kreese. Let's just take let's just on the spot right here. Let's go Clan Kreese. Let me pull this up. All right, Clan Kreese. I actually think Clan Kreese has a better tree. To be completely honest,
are they skirmish tactics?
Yeah, skirmish tactics.
Okay,
so they
yes,
they have a really good tree because it's like they got pin, or you could do 2 shoves, which gets around that steadfast that a lot of clones / Bo-Katan has. I actually think Clan Kreese has a stronger combat tree than the Supermandos. They're not pumping as much damage, but they're impacting more control onto the opponent because they have shoves, they have pin, they have other conditions, and then they're putting out okay damage. Like they could still like almost kill a clone, which I guess is like the lowest health pool for a support or support.
Can't like anyone kill a clone though. That's what my
experience. Clan Kreese can't. Clan Kreese is the only one that can't from one shot because they only go to 6
but they have
7.
They have how many dudes in that unit? Though?
Yeah, they have 2. But then let's think about that. Like everybody else pumps out 7 damage pretty much. So if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure everybody can pump out 7 damage except for the Clan Kreese. I believe that's the case. I was looking at it the other day. One,
Well,
two,
they're
three,
light-sided,
four,
so-
five, six.
Rex can't.
Magnet can't. Okay, there's a couple. There's a couple
There's
out
a
there.
few that
There's a
can't,
couple.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I agree
think
with you. The
6 is the
Clan
average.
Kreese is really solid. Like in the
Yeah.
third damage, you get a choice between expose or disarm, which is really flexible. Because you could, expose for the other commando. It's just good. You have potentially 3 pushes within 4 damage. That's really solid. Like this is the sort of tree that in general you don't see a ton of damage, but you've still got 6 damage over the course of 5 successes.
I think the craziest thing to look at when you're looking at the Clan Kreese's tree is you're gonna have 2 of these shots going into somebody. That is what you need to look at when you're looking at this tree. Because when you compare Clan Kreese to the Supermandos, this is the spot that I've been at with like what I want to play recently. Is I want to play Clan Kreese or do I want to play Supermandos? And I actually think it comes down to Clan Kreese because they're more impactful to a game state than the Supermandos are.
They're the best support unit in the game so far. Of course, like
Yeah.
I don't know why that's a question.
But I think we're trying to explain why though. And that's I think we come down to like it's the conditions and the I guess like board state control that they are impacting during their actions, and then you're getting 2 shots out of it.
So one of the other things, like when it comes to evaluating the combat trees, right? So say, looking at Asajj's, right? There's so much that I like about the Jarkai side, right? Like you have the choice between damage when you want it. You have the choice between a bunch of status effects and a little bit of damage. Either way, you get a push on 4. It's just a really solid. You get a pin on 7. Like her whole Jarkai side is hot. I love it. But then there's so many things about the Makashi side that I think are like where I can still see I'm not saying never use Makashi because I think there are times when it can be really good, especially when you want the replenishment where you want to like refill a character. But I also think it's interesting. Makashi does not have a 5th success.
Yep.
Makashi is 4 successes, and
Well,
then you get nothing.
That brings me to wanting to also talk about the 212th versus the 501st. Because I see a lot of discussion. I think it's actually a really hot topic right now. Because I see a lot of people talking about why am I paying 4 for the 212th and only 3 for the 501st? Where the 501st
are so good.
But that's the thing though. Is like, but like when you really think about it, the 212th needs 1 less success to do more damage than the 501st does. So it depends on. It comes back to what you said at the very beginning. Yeah.
I don't have that one.
Second.
You
So
know, just pull it up in,
212.
like Discord or something.
Yeah, I got
damage
you.
and pin, damage
It's
and
just-
shove, expose, 4
And
damage.
then 4 damage. Yep. So the biggest thing about it is it's only 4 long. But like they're there, and you got to look at the role of their combat tree. I think that's something that we're kind of like dancing around, but haven't like hit the head on yet. Is the role of their combat tree is to do damage. The role of the super commandos is to do damage. Where the 501st, their role is to put conditions and do good damage, which is where they kind of still outbeat the 212th.
So where did you put it?
Oh, you want an actual picture? Give me 1 second.
Yeah, I want to
Sam, talk.
participate in the conversation. I just don't have that one handy. I was like, I want to go try to find it and download
Let me
it.
find my snip.
Well, I guess if anything, I fall in the camp that's like, hey, you know what? This doesn't seem like it's that much better. I agree that the damage tree is that much better, but the chassis feels very similar to me still. The range is good. I have not completely figured out where and how to play clones yet. They're interesting. They definitely have utility to them, but I have struggled to get them to output unless they're just rolling crazy crit fire.
I think that's the thing. Like the 212, like when you have Cody there, honestly, like I'm being completely honest here. I think the 212 and Cody are kind of a miss. Like Cody's round 1 compared to Rex's round 1 is like, does this character even exist? Where Rex is like, I do everything you want and then some. Where Cody's
you want to
just
see
like,
Rex early, and you want to see Cody after your opponent's kind of in position.
You want to see Cody never. When you activate Cody, you just wish it was Rex. Let's be real. But like Rex is so strong, where Cody's just very much like, I wish I was here at a party, but like he has a lot of tools, but he's good. And I guess this is where the 212 is good too. Is they're good struggle 2 forward. Where Rex is really good and the 501st is really good struggle 1 and the whole longevity of the game. But Cody doesn't really start to really do things, I've noticed, until he's like struggle 2 past.
Well, so I think the reality here is that there's some element of wanting Anakin to be good, right? Like
Yeah.
that was probably a core. Like he's one of the more influential characters in the Star Wars universe, and part of that is he's down a squad point, right? And so if the only unit that he can take that gets him to that spot is bad, that would make Anakin bad, right?
Okay, so here's my follow-on question to you, real quick. Not to interrupt you, but not to interrupt you. Do you think
interrupt
that they?
me?
Yeah. Do you think?
I'm gonna let
that-
you finish, but Magna Guards.
I'm not going to let you finish, but I'm not going to interrupt you.
Do you think though that like they are designing the squad building points and the cost around boxes? And is that possibly a bad decision? Let's get into some hot territory
they
here.
probably are building it that way, right? Because you would want, like, if you want to have like Luminara come out,
Yeah.
you would want her to be able to play with the secondary and the support unit that's in that box.
In that box,
that
yeah.
would make sense. Is that good for hardcore, super number crunchy players like us? Probably not. But I feel like that's just a reality of something we're gonna have to work with. But we're also fine with like, okay, Luminara comes with these. I will just play Django or whatever. I don't care. You know, I will play whatever's the best in that slot. That's fine. But I think it would be really weird for the public if you couldn't, if like a box came together and you couldn't just like play that as, you know, because to a certain extent right now you could just walk up to a wall, right, buy Obi and his clones and buy, you know, Luminara when they're all out, right, like, and then you're like, boom, I've got a force, right, like I can play these, and now I've got my two squads. And I think you want that to be that way, and maybe down the road it won't, but I don't know, it's not that big of a deal to me.
I honestly think. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go back to my point.
I already interrupted you once.
My point was that I think the clone troopers, the 501st, are like on the upper end of the scale because it was important for Anakin to be good. And you needed to not feel like him being down a point was too negative of an impact.
Yeah.
But you didn't want him to be able to take any other secondary support package that they designed for anyone else and just slot it in with him potentially. So you have some level of restriction for the fact that he's a really strong character. And I think that was important. But the 501st are really good. But the other units, like having pin and a damage on your one success is still really solid. The Super Commandos wish they could be that good.
So I think that the expertise trees between these two units of clones is where the biggest difference comes in.
Okay.
Because the 501st expertise tree is trash. And I don't mean that in like, this model is trash, burn it in the hill.
like
I just
it
mean
is.
like
Sam just
one,
said the 501st
one to
should be
three
deleted.
is a
Get a
single
strike.
extra hit,
Get a strike.
and
You're
3+ is a
low.
crit. Right? Like that is just not very much.
No, their defense
And-
isn't that great either. And melee,
Oh,
they
no,
get
the
one
melee
for a
defense?
strike.
They come in for that melee defense and just get rocked. They just get rolled by anybody who gets close to them.
But then you
But,
look at the 212. Go to the 212's expertise tree.
Yeah, that's a great expertise tree. It just starts off with damage and crits. Like that's exactly what I want to see on an
But again,
expertise
I think this
tree.
comes back to what I was saying, though, is I think it's like coming down to the expertise is really defining the role of these units. And not expertise, but the combat tree is defining the role of the unit. The 501st is there to sit on a point, impart conditions, and be annoying. Where the 212th is there, and like somebody Spencer said in the chat, like the 212th does consistent damage. They're gonna be doing damage when they shoot, even if it's just one from the expertise. Like they're still gonna be doing damage more than likely. And I think that's where when you evaluate these combat trees is being able to determine what is the role of this character and is it going to actually benefit me. So that's where you go, like the list that I'm playing around with is like, do I want red mandos or blue mandos? Do I want clan crees or super commandos? And it's like, for what I want to do, I actually want the super commandos because I want a support that's going to be up in your face and punch you. Man, I've seen super commandos one shot an Obi-Wan. Like, get out of here.
Dice can dice. That's not like.
I guess not one shot. It's a 1-2 punch. It's a 1-2 punch. 1-2 punch. You need both of them to do it. And
My
hey,
dice
you
were
guys,
so hot, I just wiped that thing off the board.
No, like it's like average dice. They didn't even get their full trees. But it comes down to
Trying
like
not
what.
to trash on Darth Maul, and now you're trashing on the Kreese Commandos.
No,
All bets are off now, Dizzard. I was trying to be nice.
No. Let me come back here. I think the Kreese and the Supermandos are in the same position, especially being in the core box, because they are on opposing sides. They're doing two different things. The Kreese are all about let me be at range and shoot you and pump damage into you end conditions and be annoying as shit. Like the Kreese are amazing. And then the Supermandos are like, I'm going to go and punch you in the face because I don't care. And Beskar armor expertise is amazing. But I would say, like, if we were to evaluate one by one, point value to point value, for impact on the game and what is happening, the Clan Kreese have a better combat tree
than
the Supermandos.
The Super Commandos.
Okay.
Because they're both cost 4. They both pretty much have the same abilities across the board. One's range, one's melee. Very obviously, like Super Commandos have impact, Clan Kreese have sharpshooter. But like the combat tree for the Clan Kreese is number one, it's more versatile. Like they have arguably better options. Where do I want to go this tree or do I want to go this tree? So it's like when you look at the Super Commandos, it's very much like I'm gonna go this way because this is what I'm here for. Their other tree way really doesn't benefit them all that much, which is the one with the jump. Because like if you get the one with the jump, it's probably because you like flubbed your roll and you're like, I didn't get to go all the way I needed to go.
So let's stop comparing character to character for the moment, because obviously there's a lot more to it. Let's talk about some of the primaries, and like maybe let's do Darth Maul now.
Okay, let's get them all. I'm down.
Cover Dark Rage versus Sinister Cunning. How do you decide when do you do which do you like?
Right.
You play Maul more than Sam and I. So when do you pick? How do you evaluate the two, and when do you choose one or the other?
So here's what you do.
Why is Dark Rage absolute trash?
Okay, so here's what you do. You start the game off in Dark Rage when you're playing Maul. Because if your opponent gives you somebody... No, hear me out on this. You start with Dark Rage because if somebody gives you a target, then you're going to go and pump a lot of damage into them. Other than that, you never see Dark Rage again. Like, you start the game out in Dark Rage, and then as soon as you activate Maul, he goes to Sinister Cunning, and he's just staying on Sinister Cunning. Because, number one, like, yes, it looks like a lot of damage, but when we look at that combat tree, it says damage, strain, damage, shove, or... and then you got damage. So
reading combat trees is
rather than just
really goofy.
It is.
So we agree that like Sinister Cunning feels like the strong side.
It absolutely is. Like,
which one's the lightsaber throw inside? That's the one people care
Sinister
about.
Cunning.
Because
there we go.
Like the biggest thing about it is number one, Maul's hurting himself to do whatever he wants. That's just how he plays. You need defense, where Sinister Cunning, you're getting 6 dice for defense plus a 2 block expertise tree for his defense. Also, on his offense, his expertise tree is still just better on Sinister Cunning. Like, you're getting a crit and a damage immediately. On the other one, you get a crit and a damage. Sure, it's the same thing. I think it's the same, actually. But you get the thrown lightsaber as well, which gives you versatility in what you want to do with Maul. But the biggest thing is you look at his tree. Like, he's still pumping out. This is what, like, really threw me for a loop. Is, like, it's the same amount of damage. It says Dark Rage. You get more damage early. This one, you're getting damage and
you don't even
mobility.
Get more damage early.
Is it more? Is it not more damage? I thought it was.
It's the same.
Is it the same? Okay,
it's literally the same amount of damage.
So there's literally no reason to go on Dark Rage the entire game. You might as well just start Sinister Cunning because that way you can heal off of your first attack.
The only point where you get one more damage is at the 5th success.
Yeah, where it's like
one more damage. Otherwise, it is the same amount of damage the whole way. But like,
how many damage is it at 5 successes on
10.
Maul's tree?
It's 10, both sides.
Come on!
Oh, sorry, that's 6. That's 6 successes. That's 6.
Okay, so what's 5? If
5 on Sinister Cunning will be 7. And on Dark Rage... Oh, God, this is the weird one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, it's only 8. But if you
they both kill clones.
If you get to a 6th success, Sinister Cunning is 3 successes. So it ends up being like there's only one damage amount where Sinister Cunning is actually a lower amount of damage. But
It's at the end of the
that's
tree.
right? And then at the end of the tree, you're at the same amount of damage, and that's where I think this is where the evaluation comes in.
Then it also comes down to you got to look at the expertise. You have to look at the expertise when you're looking at these double stance cards because
The defensive expertise is huge for Maul.
Well, it's also huge for Asajj. You look at Asajj as well. Asajj is another one.
Let's focus on Maul for a minute. Let's not bounce around too much. We're talking about Maul
the biggest
in a
thing about
positive
Maul,
light. You have me talking about Maul in a positive light.
Don't
Just shift me off to a better character.
So the biggest thing about Maul on Sinister Cunning is one, you're getting one more block die, which is honestly huge in this game. That one die has felt huge. Then your expertise is you're getting one extra block. Fair. Then your expertise is a block.
The expertise of 1, 2, or 3 expertise all giving you 2 blocks is a big deal, because a lot of time you have 1 expertise, and just having that always be 2 blocks, as opposed to even if you have 3 defensive successes or 3 expertise on Dark Rage side, you're still only blocking 1.
Now, I want to say about this is people might say, well, expertise for defense for 3 and 4 plus on Dark Rage looks really, really good. But tell me, when are you going to roll 3 expertise on 5 dice?
I mean, there would have to be some sort of buff situation.
That's the thing is the likelihood of you hitting that 3 or more successes where that defensive expertise is huge isn't very high. Where you're just instantly that first one, you're already hitting more blocks, which is big. You're not going to get the jump, you're not going to get the heal. But if you're on that first side, you're probably just dead anyways because you're probably already down 3 health, and that means your opponent only has to do 8, which is not that difficult for most support in this game.
Yeah. But I just want to emphasize on Sinister Cunning, you have push and damage, advance and damage, pin and damage. Right?
Reposition,
your first 3
reposition and
successes,
damage.
right?
Reposition.
But I mean it's a full advance, right? It's not a little short push, it's not a dash, it's not a jump. He's super fast, and that's one of the things I think Dark Rage gets to be a little bit of a trap, and what you get out of Sinister Cunning is just money the whole way through.
Yeah, no, I am on Sinister Cunning pretty much the entire game, except for when I first start, for that one chance that my opponent gives me somebody and I get a huge spike into them. It's literally just banking on luck.
There's no additional spike. The damage is the same.
That was a misevaluation on my part, I'll be honest.
Okay. But that's the thing, you look at it, right? And this is where the evaluation comes in. And this is why I pitched this as the topic for this episode.
It just also comes
I don't
down
think it's
to
easy. The damage trees are hard to evaluate.
It also just comes down to looking at why it's important to know how to evaluate these trees and what you want to look for. Because number one, I ain't gonna lie, I miss I actually went down the wrong branch with Maul's tree. I forgot that there was that one loop-de-loop on the bottom there where all the damage is.
And
so there really isn't
talking about the expertise, right? We were just talking about the clones and how a lot of them in their first bit of damage, right? We were just talking about the what these are Obi's clones, right?
The 212th.
Yeah, they're Obi's. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So on 2 or 3 successes, right? They're only getting in 2 damage.
Yes.
And so that means if you are on Sinister Cunning, if you roll at least 1 expertise, you're just taking no damage from those clones in most situations, right? And I think that's what's important for Maul, is when he can mitigate all of those little shots into him, right? He's not going to live through Anakin. Nobody lives through Anakin. But the point is when he's on Sinister Cunning, I have had problems where you're Maul is at 1 health left, but when he's on Sinister Cunning,
Also
you're all of these random supports and stuff.
Hi, Nick Art. Anakin's overrated. I can't help it.
I'm sorry, listeners, that I have to be the voice of reason and accept that some things are really good. And, Anyway,
I think so. When I'm looking at a tree, I want to look at the damage on the tree. I want to know how much damage is on it. I'm especially going to look at the damage in the first 3 steps because I feel like you have a better chance of hitting like your first like 1, 2, 3 steps than you do on like the entire rest of the tree.
That was one of the exact points I wanted to get to.
And well,
Can I
Thunder's
cantina for a
stolen.
minute? Can I derail and go back?
Yeah,
to
go
the
ahead. Go
cantina
ahead.
for a minute?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Time to open up beer 2. Velociraptor
That's actually a really cool one.
Guardian IPA by Ninkasi is my second beverage of the evening, and so
right.
we get that fresh snap on the show.
There you go.
But anyway, that I wanted to come back to Sam's point and just be like, what do you think is the right amount of successes to kind of expect, right? And like, so when I'm looking at Asajj, I don't expect to hit 5. And I think hitting 4 is probably like 50-50, but I feel like getting 1, 2, or 3 on some of the primaries is pretty common, is pretty normal. Is that kind of where you guys are at too?
I only care about rolling crits.
That is not even an answer to my question. That's an answer to a different question that nobody asked.
I have found that you can't count on more than 1 to 2, just in general. Yeah, you are probably going to get 1 to 2. When I roll defense, I feel like I often give up like the 4 and 5 step. I only get those when I roll crits.
I feel
Sam is the pessimist of the cast. Got it.
I feel
the
I do.
optimist.
Yeah, no, you got it. You got
And
5 on
I'm-
every
what am I?
attack.
Am I
5.
Am I the logic? I don't know. What
You're the realist. The realist.
Yeah.
But no, like, in
right,
all
we have
reality,
our-
though, in all reality, I don't know. I feel like you're right there. I think primaries, you're more than likely on average going to be hitting 3, like on average 3. I feel like supports, you're looking at 1, maybe 2, because like the expertise tree for a lot of supports, this is trash. And then like your and then your secondaries, I feel like secondaries like actually hit harder than most of the primaries do. I feel like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like they're more often hitting that 4th and 5th tree more than primaries do.
I'm gonna derail again with some beer talk. I just want to say, if you're gonna go out and buy Ninkasi stuff, I know this is widely available. The Celestial IPA, I would 100% buy again. Now that I've tried Velociraptor, even though it's a slightly better name, it's got a kind of a weird bite to it. And if you like that, I like the Eclipsosaurus Celestial IPA better, just for the beer drinkers. Who
What kind of hops is your Raptosaurus Rex?
I don't know, but. Should I know? Does it say? What do you...
I'm assuming the first one is the celestial hops, because like different types of hops can punch you in the mouth differently.
Yeah. Is that you're past my level of knowledge here. Is there a celestial hops?
Almost is like, I like the noise and I like the way it tastes. Sam's like,
or I don't.
What percentage of the hops do you got going on there?
I had to give a lecture on Heineken the other night, and it was fun.
Didn't you used to be a bartender?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's where it is. Yeah. So you have knowledge we don't have.
Goddess Ninkasi's garden lurks Velociraptor Guardian and protector of Ninkasi's mystical hops. After all, the name Velociraptor is derived from Latin velox, meaning swift, and hopter, meaning hop dinosaur. When she spots an intruder, this swift hop dino delivers a quick and complex punch. Melon, papaya, and earthly hop notes collide with just a touch of honey.
All right.
Does that answer any of your questions? Because I don't think it does.
So that was like the equivalent of him answering your question earlier.
Yeah. I don't know. Is there actually celestial hops?
I have no idea. In all honesty, like I
It's
thought
like
that
Star Lord brought the celestial hops to like. Been playing a bunch of like RPGs and there's like celestial ore and like, so I'm imagining it's like, is there like some sort of special planet you go to for celestial hops? Is that like a thing that Han Solo smuggles? There's like, I got the celestial hops in the back for Ninkasi. Gotta get through this blockade, you know.
Anyways, I do think though, like as I was saying, was I do think that primaries, you're looking at 3+. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
I've had a primary hit less than 3. Like, 3 is very common. If it like hits less than 3, it's really just one of those situations where it's like, well, this sucks. And most of the time it's because Maul went into somebody with 15 dice and just completely whipped all of it. It's a good
Well, and
Hulk
that's-
situation.
That's one of the things with Anakin, right? Where I'm like, man, I fucking got him disarmed, and then you're just like, 2 successes is still 5 damage,
Yeah.
and 3 successes is still 7, and strain, like.
Well,
you
it's
know,
like
or-
his expertise
so
too is like he's like what, like 2 crits off his first expertise or something like that.
Let's talk about those
one
trees.
crit, and then 2 crits off 2 or 3, and then 3 crits off of 4+.
Because Annie and Obi both have wildly different trees
Yes.
front and back.
Okay.
Those trees are crazy. Like Anakin's is like, I feel like they both have a tree that you're just like, why would I ever use the other one?
Well, I think obviously Shien form, you are sacrificing the insane tree
Yes,
for
an extra
crazy
defense
defense.
die
where I think with
and
But,
extra
like-
defense die.
but his like I will say Shien's expertise tree for defense, but maybe it's just a thing where with Anakin you could start in Gemso, right? And then after your activate or like after you do your
Sure.
attacking, you switch to Shien, and then the next round or but basically you set yourself up for occasionally switching to Shien just for a defensive round because of how you can switch. You will start in a form, right? And then you can switch ones for free during your activation. So I don't know how often I would ever choose to like activate and make attacks in the Shien form because
Right.
there isn't anything special. I mean, unless you're just like, oh, I just have to push you off to win the game. He's got push, push, push,
Sure.
jump, right? Like,
But I mean, like the expertise on defense is like one block off between the two
Right.
different forms. So like you're rolling an extra die, but like and you're rolling an extra die, and your expertise defense tree is better. If you don't roll the expertise, then it doesn't really matter. His other form just it still is. You're not leaving that much on the table. And I feel kind of like the inverse is true with Obi-Wan, where his defensive stance, his defensive expertise is actually worse for like the damage that actually gets through. Downgrading crits is insane.
yes.
Downgrading like adding 2 blocks is good, but downgrading crits is insane. And I so like Obi-Wan's like defensive like health tree is great because on offense he's adding crits. I like that. That's cool. I love adding crits. Anakin's adds crits too, right? Feels great when you're just like, oh, I just dropped 2 extra crits into this. Like, yeah, okay, that's 2 more steps down the tree. But then it seems like with Obi-Wan especially, it's like you need those heals that are on his other side
Yeah.
because your defense isn't as good because you're just taking all those crits instead of being able to downgrade to failures and stuff. I don't know.
So-
Well,
I
also-
haven't been able to figure out Anakin or Obi-Wan's like healing tree form yet.
So the other thing with Anakin, right? Like because you only remove 1 status effect, at 4
Yeah.
successes he has strain and pin. Like even though he's going to kill you, you then have to start. You have to choose the next round.
Yeah,
Like, do
right.
I start strained or pinned?
Well,
Just
I
for
wanna-
Anakin. Like Gemso
wanna-
is so nuts.
I want to ask you guys a question real quick. Go ahead and get your
Anything for you,
Asajj,
Gizzard.
your Asajj card up, and tell me why I would want to be off of Jarkai, because I think Jarkai is just arguably always good for her.
I'm not even sure that Asajj's strength is on her combat tree. To be
No,
perfectly
her
honest.
strength is that force push. Let's be real.
It's the
Like,
force push and the mobility, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Getting
can just be
force
like,
push for free on Jarkai on the success 4 is like every
It's,
other.
it's success
activation.
4 on both sides.
you guys, do you get 4
it is.
successes? Because I don't.
Yeah.
I get 4 successes when
Well,
on my tree when I roll 4 crits.
I look at Jarkai and I'm like, this is really, really good defensive for her expertise and really good offensive expertise. And she's just pumping out damage. And if she hits that 4th tree, like it's just a push. And then her other side is just like, I need to heal and I need to heal like right now. Is basically what that says to me. Like
I
that's
don't. Yeah, I don't get the Makashi form side. Like,
yeah, I don't. I haven't really had a game.
A slightly better expertise tree for offense.
Yeah,
Right,
but you're
like
also
it's
one less die, which is also
technically-
like you're one less
Yeah.
die. So and it's 1 through 3, you're getting 2 crits, versus on the other side at 4, you're getting 2 crits and a hit. So
Downgrading crits is huge. Like
it is like that aggressive defense is like monstrous.
Do you think this is intentional, right? Because if you know the lore, Anakin prefers fighting in Gemso.
Yeah.
That's his preferred style. And I think Asajj, I don't know enough,
It's
but
Jarkai.
Jarkai is like Jarkai is the form that she likes, right?
Yeah.
And Makashi is what Dooku teaches her because he loves Makashi.
Yes.
That's his preferred style. But Jarkai is her preferred style. Do you think this is a little bit of like they want to make sure the stronger tree is the preferred
You know
style,
what?
and then
If-
the other side?
how about-
Isn't
this?
Obi-Wan's
How about
preferred
this?
form Ceresu though? Like
No, his the one that starts with an A. His is the one that starts with an A.
Ataru.
Yeah, his is
Ataru's his
Ataru.
preferred.
Yeah.
That's his preferred.
Suresu is. I thought Suresu is. Obi's
I thought the
preferred
iconic.
style.
Yeah.
No.
I thought the
His
iconic
I
was
could have sworn
Ceresu.
his preferred was Ataru because he tried teaching Anakin Ataru.
No, I think the lore
I
is
think you had it
that
reversed.
Maybe.
Anakin. So I think Obi-Wan went
I'm always right when I
Suresu
drink.
because he saw Qui-Gon die. I thought that
Yeah.
was supposed to be the lore, that he learned Suresu because Suresu is better against lightsaber combat, and he wanted to move away from the Qui-Gon that focused on like blocking blaster bolts and stuff like that. And Suresu is like he wants to live through fighting other Sith and stuff. because
What's the one that he teaches
encountered that when he was-
Anakin? He teaches Anakin. What?
I thought he teaches Anakin.
No, because
yeah.
Anakin learns
Ceresu's the
the
favorite.
Okay, so Anakin learns the footwork of Ceresu, and I guess why they say Anakin's like a hybrid fighting style. He's not really dedicated to one
He's the chosen one.
because he's the
Well,
chosen
he
one.
uses Gemso like Mace, where that's his preferred, more
Yeah.
aggressive style. I don't think he ever like fully accepts what Obi-Wan wants to teach. Where like Obi-Wan wants to focus
I mean,
on
it's
Suresu
the-
because
it's the
he
same
wants
thing
to
as
survive
Ahsoka.
battles with Sith.
It's the same thing as Ahsoka, where it's like she just went off on her own and said "fuck you, Anakin."
I mean, would any of us not say "fuck you, Anakin" if we had to like deal with him on a regular basis?
Just a long line of failed teachers.
all I know is Jim said this sucks. I mean, like in all reality, I don't know. Like I think let's trying to bring this back to the question at
Wait,
hand.
so
What do
I
you?
want to ask the people in chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
totally you'll have to like tell me if they answer. But I'm curious, and maybe this is something like if you're listening to this like on Spotify or something after the fact, I'm really curious. Do you guys like it? I mean, rephrase. I don't want to say you guys. I say that too much now. I'm trying to like. Do you nerds?
folks. You
I want to
folks.
say not folks. God, I'm
Nerds.
trying to
No,
rebel against my
nerds.
Idaho roots.
Nerds.
You
You
nerds.
nerds.
You nerds. Do you
You're from
like it
Idaho?
when we deal with when we derail into some lore talk and stuff, like intermix it in? Like we're not going to be like primarily lore, but do you want to like just have some random Star Wars talk thrown in? Tell us in chat, tell us in Discord. I'm just curious, like are you cool with a little bit of that coming in? Do you like it?
Well,
But
my
yeah,
street cred's not coming from playing this game, so
Yeah, I technically grew up in Eastern Washington on the Snake River, but I spent a lot of time on the Idaho side because it was literally you just cross a bridge, and I've swam across the Snake River multiple times. And so the reality is, where I grew up, as much as I'll say Washington, so you imagine Seattle, I grew up in bumfuck nowhere, Idaho, essentially northern Idaho. And so I'm rebelling against the shit like saying folks and stuff like that.
well, folks is what
Well,
the politicians say, along
So,
with their
okay.
"I'm not going to point at you" hand
Well,
positioning.
Well, we'll talk. I'm just assuming what you said.
I will
'cause had to
point at
get up real
you,
quick.
you listener, you. That is a
You
great
folks.
squad
Okay,
you're
so
thinking about.
no, I think
I believe in you, and you have a wonderful beard, unlike Dizzard's, because he shaved it off
Wow.
out of
Okay.
disrespect for his
All
own
right.
facial hair. He
Maul
hated
doesn't have
it
a beard.
internally. He got rid of it, and Maul is
Doesn't
half
have a beard.
Sith.
Half a Sith. But anyways, like so I was thinking I had to get up. I really had to use the bathroom. But I'm assuming that you were saying like, do people actually like find it enjoyable when we derail, or would they rather us stay on topic?
Well, I specifically was asking about Star Wars lore derailment.
Yeah.
Like when we started talking about the forms and stuff. Did I say on the last episode when we were doing the demo, at Adepticon, and the wonderful demoer was sort of like, oh well, in this form is offensive. I'm like, I know the form. I'm one of those nerds who just knows what the forms are, so I know just by the name of it which one is the offensive form and which one is the defensive form. I was like, I'm that kind of Star Wars nerd.
Well, we'll allow you access to the council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
All right, I want to look at one last tree before we get
Sure.
off this. Let's
Oak?
and Mike also, yeah, Oak. Mike wanted us to talk about
Evergreen?
this too. Is Dooku's combat trees, especially now because we've seen his second side from PCN's stream, where he's got Makashi and he has.
Can somebody send? I am
Force
not
Mastery.
prepared. I am so sorry. Can
Which one do you
someone
want? The Force Mastery?
give me the Makashi? Give me. I need
got
both.
you.
Apparently, where I don't
got
have
you.
this handy. I didn't know we were going to be talking about Dooku. I should have been prepared. I take responsibility for my lack of preparation, and I grabbed a bunch of the ones that I thought were interesting from the core
The
set. and
important
I did not
thing-
have Dooku handy.
The important thing is
I love
you
you.
have
Thank
a
you
yummy
for-
drink.
I'm glad I was able to bring some hop hilarity with reading off a label. I was just trying to channel my inner Alfredo's podcast and be like, "Oh, I'm going to read the back of the beer can. Can you guess which beer this is?"
All right, so
'Cause,
I think the biggest things when you're looking at Dooku's tree is I think when he got the Force Mastery spoiled from PCNs. For people who don't know, Professional Academy Network, they were given a box and they were allowed to open it on a YouTube video, and we got to see Dooku's other combat tree side as well as AMG has spoiled it officially now. I love Force Mastery because that is a wicked range attack. Like I am okay dropping guard to run Dooku because I don't need guard no more for a sniper. Where Dooku's just like lightning bolt. Like that is insane. Where he's rolling 8 dice for a range 4, and he can heal. He got the reposition on this side too. So like his lack of mobility on his like actives, like or his reactives and reactives, doesn't really matter because like he's just getting that reposition on what 2 on his or on 1 on his Makashi side. Like I definitely feel like Dooku's one where it's like you actually want to use both of his sides. I think he's actually really hard to evaluate because both of his sides are insanely
These feel
good.
good.
Yeah, like
I-
duelist training, like his expertise on his Makashi side is amazing. But I definitely feel like both of his trees suit to where you are in the game and what you're trying to actively do with him. And I could see him being a character that you are like, I'm flipping back and forth constantly throughout the game with his trees.
Dude, Dooku's bonkers. Like, I don't have anything
Hot
else
take.
to say about
Hot
Dooku.
take.
Like, sure, we can call these a hot take if you want to, but like, I
think Dooku is bonkers.
I will die on this hill for now. He is debatably
He might be-
the best out of
he
the.
might be
he's
the
in-
best
he is
primary
in contention
of
for
wave
the best
one.
primary.
No, I
coming
think
out of
he
the gate.
is. He is the best primary out of the gate.
It's
wave
not
one.
even just the trees. Both
Get out of
trees
here,
are good.
Anakin
It's
face.
Everything
I see your
else
judgmental face of
printed
Anakin.
on his card. My good lord, this guy is amazing.
My problem with Dooku is that he wants to run droids, which suck by nature.
Magna Guard are pretty dope. Magna Guard and Django.
Yeah, the Magna Guard are
The
pretty.
Django is
the
really
action
good.
compression that he is bringing to the table
Yeah.
is amazing. And Magna Guard under Dooku are a different animal than just being like, oh, I'm just going to run some Magna Guard. And they're good by themselves. But,
So
like,
I want to talk about his trees.
amazing.
Okay. Yeah, let's break these
That's
down.
what we're here for.
Yeah.
right?
So what I think is really interesting about his is that there really are pluses and minuses to both sides.
Yes.
On the Makashi side, his defensive expertise is really good.
Insane.
Right? Like, and so he definitely has better, he has more dice and he has really strong defensive expertise.
Yeah, I'm
And
gonna
I
have
really like
3+,
the
cancel 2 crits.
versatility of the Makashi form is really, I think, on point for Dooku.
Yes.
Right? Because he can go any direction he wants at any point in time to always get the things that you want. If you want the advance, you've got it. If you want more pushes, you've got it. If you like, you just always get to bounce to the right tree, and I think that makes a lot of sense for him. But the fucking Force Lightning side, right?
Force Mastery.
Right, but the
Force Lightning side is way better.
the side that wants to use Force Lightning I do think it's interesting that if you want the pin, you do sacrifice damage a little bit for healing himself or someone else. But I think that's still really interesting synergy where he can play a support side, right? Where he does some damage, he heals himself or like supports someone else and removes status effects, pins someone, and then gets to move into an advance in damage. Like he's got two really solid trees. I think you would be.
I think you're in Force Mastery on approach, and you're probably in Makashi for most of the rest of it.
Well, I also feel like Force Mastery is like for retreating. Like, let's say you want to like, you go into Struggle 2, and I need to back Dooku up.
Nope. Crit to fail.
Any time with you crazy nerds. I'm going to say with him, I think you have to make constant active decisions about which one is better in the specific scenario. I think anytime that a podcaster, like this is early pre-release thoughts, but I would say I think right now, if someone tries to tell you that this is when you do Makashi and this is when you do Force Mastery, I just don't think that's pertinent. I think he is a character where you will really actively have to make a decision based on the state of the board, more so than maybe any other character in the game. I think he has two really solid things that have pluses and minuses depending on the situation. You're going to have to be very cognizant with him. If you're ready to play Dooku, I think you need to constantly be making the decision, do you switch, do you not switch? And maybe he's a character who's always switching, right? Where you're always using the, okay, now I'm going to switch into this, or like every other time you activate him, you do a switch.
My counter to this is I completely agree with you. I think he's definitely a person or a character in the game that you want to be
that's
like.
That's not a counter. That's an agreement.
Okay, well, I'm getting to my counter, right? Okay. So the counter is as the opponent, how like is there a way you can manufacture how to go into Dooku? Because most games, I'm just like I just don't want to attack this guy. Okay, we're okay.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know the answer to that. I haven't actually played with Dooku yet, and so I'm really not sure. But I think he's really interesting. I think his trees are more interesting than his card, but the fact that his stuff synergizes so much with Separatists, I was a little zoned out for his card. I'm like, I don't want to play droids. I'm not my thing.
I think Mike and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to Dooku, where. Where his signature ability at the bottom of his card is probably the strongest thing of his card. Like, just gaining
signature ability is the strongest thing.
Well, I mean, like that's the fact that he gains
the old ability.
The brilliance. Oh my god, I am like, I'm just, oh my god, a character's signature ability. Is like the best thing for that. Oh,
I got you.
Oh, I got you. My mind.
But hear me out on
this.
Though,
so economy's good. Hold on.
Economy is real good, especially Force
economy.
Oh
my god, economy is good.
Oh,
shit,
right.
Sam and Dinger just double. I'm the cream of this
Oreo. It's not just the economy though, right?
You're
it's
in
the
fact middle
that
too.
you not only do you get like more force to do more fun stuff with, but you also get to like move or attack.
Yep.
Force is good and moving and attacking.
So hold on a second. Hold on. So
much.
I've got Django and Asajj and Dooku in the same squad. So I've got two like non-combat related repositions on my opponent's models. And then on top of that, I get my Magna Guards. So I definitely brought those with Dooku. So now I've got the action compression of both Dooku's identity ability and the Magna Guards. Oh man, this is crazy. That's a lot of additional bonus effects that I get to do when one of my guys dies.
But here, tell me why Anakin is the chosen one. Dooku is the chosen one of the game.
No, he's not. He can't downgrade crits by spending force. So Anakin can still chop his head off. Just saying. Spoiler alert.
Fair enough. I don't know. I think
you just gotta catch him in Force Mastery.
I think to wrap up, let's wrap up this combat tree conversation, right?
Okay.
So what do we got? We got
fucking Separatists over here.
No.
Is the dark side stronger? I do believe so. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
That's not
but the light side.
Separatists.
But the light side.
No, I think you run Dooku.
That's where you earn your stripes.
You run Dooku with Mandos because what do
I'm
Mandos
sorry,
suffer?
listeners, that I'm podcasting with a bunch of separatist scum over
gosh.
here.
I only run Magna Guard. Magna Guard are the only robots I like.
Separatist, droid-loving.
Literally, just like playing
statue right behind
Obi-Wan
them.
for this
Like
entire
I want
game.
anybody who's watching the stream
I got
and or
Newt
YouTube
Gunray
video
and Watt Tambor podcasting
Nope.
with me.
Nope.
as somebody literally has an action figure of Grievous right behind them.
Irrelevant.
Gotcha. Top that.
Also, that's a really sick model, dude.
This is the way.
This is the way. I can't wait for that model to come out, man.
Yeah, separate. Hello there.
Hello there. So let's go ahead and wrap up these combat trees. What do you think are let's low down and dirty? What do you look for? Sum it up. Sum up the last 30 minutes.
The stuff that you want early in the tree.
Yeah, I think you look for really strong effects on 1, 2, and 3 is one of the good ways of evaluating whether or not something is like going to be really powerful. I think pin and strain anywhere early in the tree, really good. You're looking about like average damage if you want a damage dealing character like Anakin, right? You want the high damage early in the tree so it's dependable. And then some like depending on the role, you look for positive things early in the tree, like multiple pushes really early in a tree is super good. And so
then you top it off with that sick defensive expertise.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive expertise does matter, and so look at the expertise because that's tied into it. 100%.
I feel like that's an evaluation when you're looking at two different trees, right? Because now you want to understand how do you want to end your turn versus where do you want to start your turn, or where do you want to be at while you're attacking. Versus
but like you have a little bit, right? Like because you compare like the super commandos to the clan Krees, right? Like you're like, oh, like which one of these do I want to run? Or maybe you're comparing, Django to Gar Saxon or something like that. You still are like making those sort of decisions, so you still might compare trees, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the core. And honestly, listeners, if you have something else that you look for that you want to share on Discord or you want to share it on Twitch, and I'm super annoyed because the light is now perfectly coming through the windows and putting just little eensy teensy pieces of glare on my face that I cannot avoid. Does not matter what I do, because fucking sun in Seattle is just out to get me.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees there. It's insane. Like,
can we not talk about it? Don't remind me.
Is the metal band still practicing? Okay,
so what Sam's talking about now is there's like a little party in the backyard, like 2 houses over, and these kids were like singing the alphabet like they were auditioning for a metal band. It was like, and I was like, well, I definitely have to close the window. And now Dizzard has to edit that and like shrink the,
Nah,
it's fine.
the extremes. Yeah.
I'll just wait for the complaints of the don't meddle in the alphabet ever again.
That's how we're gonna end every episode now. Dare you to threaten? Dare you to complain about that?
Overall, do you
I'll
guys
start
have any
reading
other
beer labels every episode.
Honestly, it could be part of your Cantina corner. Like your Cantina corner is whatever you want it to be.
In the deserts of the southern hemisphere, a mysterious deity lingers. You may not always be able to see Eclipsosaurus, but a massive wingspan beats powerfully, whirling notes of fresh citrus and melon through the air. Legends of Eclipsosaurus, mythical power tell of an ability to move the moon, sun, and stars from the sky itself. Will these celestial wonders continue to shine over the land? I feel like that's like a Mandalorian myth or something.
I like that one more than the other one.
My beer has something on the back too.
Ooh,
I've got a note. I've got a note from my company on the back. Consumption of alcoholic beverages impairs your ability to drive a car or operate machinery and may cause health problems.
I got one.
Does podcasting count as heavy scenery, like heavy machinery?
I got one.
Gizzard, how drunk are you? Can you operate podcasting and streaming? Like,
I've had 2 sour monkeys and they're pretty strong. Okay, so fruity notes
white males
from
over
imported.
30. We have to be podcasting.
Oh man, I remember when
Okay.
blogging was nerdy.
Oh man, this is the new blog, isn't it? Anyways,
Yeah, absolutely.
I am curious though. People go ahead and leave a comment in Discord or wherever you see this, whether it be YouTube, Discord, or wherever, on the review even. Do you mind the tangents and the side conversations? I guess is the best way to put it.
Come on, we're not pandering. We are who we are.
We are who we are.
gonna
You're right. Never mind. You're right. I'm not. Yeah. Fuck your
I care what
opinion.
you think. I care.
Honest
A little.
cares. I'll read it.
This is performance
I'll-
art.
So I'll read what you have to say, and then Sam will say, "I got sweet baby Jesus tonight." So, all right, that'll wrap it up. Be sure to come hang out with us in
hold
the
on.
Discord. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I thought it was a good segue.
most
Okay.
Star Wars.
Well, that's
thing
after.
you
That's
could do.
after the
Oh, it's
close
after?
out,
Oh,
Sam.
okay.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's
god.
where you literally end the episode.
It was
on
such
you.
a good segue, and then you close it out with that last little bit. There's show notes
All right,
for a reason,
let's-
Sam.
all right, let's go. Let's do
You're
this.
just not. You're not used to organization.
I don't know what it is.
All right, so that'll wrap us up. Be sure to come hang out with us in the Discord, and thank you for taking the time to listen to us and our drunken ramblings. As always, we will be in your corner of the cantina. Sam, close us out.
I think the most Star Wars thing you could do would be to turn off your targeting computer on the final approach.
Nerds out.
Close the blast doors!
Open the blast doors! Open the blast doors! I'm not leaving you here!
I think that's like the biggest thing about like this intro / outro is I want to talk during it.
I can bring you in warm,
Dude, that could be our thing.
or I can bring you in
Just talk randomly during it.
Bring you in frosty.
Close the blast doors.